What is up, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Just Saying. I'm Jairus, and we got an action-packed episode for you today. My co-host Shay is going to break it all down for you right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now. Stop stalling.
Yeah, we just got off the Marvel Rivals grind, so we're pretty cool. Hey, if you guys play Marvel Rivals, comment down in the video. Let us know. Maybe we'd like to play with you.
We're trying to assemble a team.
Assemble a team.
Yep.
Called
the Revengers.
Anyway, we've been on that Marvel Rivals grind. Biggest game out there kind of right now. So that's been fun and exciting. New season coming up. However, that's not what we're talking about in this podcast. Today, we have the men's and women's NCAA basketball championships because that happened on Sunday and Monday, which 8:50 p.m. start time for the men's on a Monday night. What are we doing right now? Like, what is that?
That makes no sense.
At 8:50? No, stupid. Then we're touching base with the PWHL because we have a standings update and playoffs are actually right around the corner. NBA and NHL, the same thing with some breaking news that happened today as of this recording, which is quite shocking. Then some NFL things going on, and hey, I think we have a draft video coming out soon. Also, baseball is in full swing.
Oh my God, you made that joke last week.
Oh, it never gets old. Full swing. So we are going to talk about that and our first standings update with that. NASCAR happened on Sunday. Someone went back to back again this year. And to end it all with Daredevil episode 7.
Yeah, so we have a lot to get into, and we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. Swish.
He scores!
That's right. 3-pointer made because in the women's final, UConn dominated South Carolina, ending their back-to-back bid 82-59. So pretty big blowout, winning their first title since 2016 and a record 12th overall title in program history.
That's right.
With the threes, UConn didn't hit many. They only hit 4 threes the whole game, but their defense was masterful against South Carolina's stacked roster. So congrats to UConn on the win.
That's right. UConn looked just so dominant on the defensive side of the ball. And their offense was good too, but that they didn't even need help from the 3-point line. It was all on the inside, all inside the paint. And their defense just suffocated South Carolina. And it was I was able to watch about this pretty much the last little bit of the third quarter through the fourth quarter that day. And wow, it was just a blowout. Wow, what a championship game for UConn. UConn men's and women's basketball, I think I saw, has won a third of all championships now since the year 2000. Or
wow.
Either a third or half, which is wild. So congrats to the women Huskies over there. They're back. They are back.
That's right. And for the men's tournament, Houston was up 12 points starting at the beginning of the second quarter, but or
second half.
Sorry.
Men's basketball, for whatever reason, and on the college side, is the only basketball that is split into 1 and 2 halves. It's very weird. But they beat Duke.
Oh, I'm gonna restart. I thought the championship game was first. I didn't see put Duke first.
Oh.
So let's start over. Moving on to the men's tournament, Houston beat Duke in the Final Four on a 17-3 run in the final 2 minutes and 5 seconds of the game to come back and go to the finals. But who was standing in their way?
The Florida Gators.
Chomp chomp, baby. Gators came back from a 12-point deficit in the national championship to beat Houston, ending their bid for their first title in program history, 65-63. Their first title since going back-to-back in 06 and 07.
That's right. Houston turned the ball over on each of their final 4 possessions and didn't even get a shot off on their final possession. The Gators defense just swarmed them the last bit of the game,
Masterful.
and the Gators offense exploded to come back, from that 12-point deficit. So huge comeback, and congrats to the Gators for winning it once again. First time, as you said, since their back-to-back reign in 06 and 07.
Yeah, I think for this NCAA March Madness for the women's and the men's, as like every year, it's madness.
Yep.
That's why it's called March Madness.
It is.
A team comes back from a lot of points down to beat a team in the Final Four, and then came back on to get defeated in the national championship. And that's what we love about this tournament. Hopefully next year we actually remember to make our brackets.
Yeah, hopefully.
So that's going to do it for college basketball. For Cooper Flagg, the consensus #1 overall pick in the NBA draft. We'll see which team drafts him. I don't know if that's already set in stone or not,
I don't know.
but we'll see what happens. So with that, moving on to the Professional Women's Hockey League. The second season has just been as much of a success as the first, including the PWHL Takeover Tour.
Yeah.
People have really showed up and showed out for women's hockey. And it is so cool to see, especially with a little bit of the disaster the previous female leagues were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really hope this league continues to thrive. And they're already talking about expansion in the second season. And for the second season, they've had expanded schedule. I think everybody plays 36 games. So we're going to take a look at the standings, getting into the final stretch of the PWHL regular season, starting off with the top team still, the Montreal Victoire. They are actually the only team right now to have clinched a playoff spot.
They're that far ahead. They're that good.
Yeah, real good. With 48 points in total, they have an 11-6-3-7 record. And I will remind everyone again, that means wins in regulation, overtime wins, overtime losses, and regulation losses. Next up, Toronto's in second, the Toronto Scepters, with 45 points. They have a record of 12-2-5-8. Up in third is the Boston Fleet with 40 points, a record of 8-6-4-9. The Ottawa Charge have actually moved past the defending champs into the fourth spot and that last playoff spot with 39 points with a record of 11-1-4-11. And the Frost, as mentioned, have fallen out of the playoff picture, but they're only 1 point behind. 38 points with a record of 8-5-4-10. And the New York Sirens, after finishing last season in the bottom and getting the first overall pick, they are still at the bottom, which shows just how much more work this team needs.
Yeah.
33 points with a record of just 7-4-4-12.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising that Minnesota has fallen off. They still have 9 games left, so they can definitely get back, just that 1 point. But I think it's going to be a pretty close race these last 9 games here between them and Ottawa, because it's you want the defending champs to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, it makes it so much more interesting. And when the playoffs finally begin, I will personally be watching them because last year's playoffs was fantastic.
Yeah.
And especially that final between the Fleet and the Frost.
Mm-hmm.
Or last year was PWHL Boston and PWHL Minnesota.
That's right.
But yeah, I would love to get a jersey too. But just don't have the money right now. So, moving on, Shay is going to go over the NBA. We're going to give you some news updates, including a shocking cleansing of the house by a certain organization. and then give an update on the standings and the current playoff picture, which right now for one conference is absolutely chaotic.
Yeah, and the other one is locked in. So to start, the Boston Celtics. They did it, folks. They did it. No, they have not won the championship yet. They haven't gone back to back yet. It's not that time. But they did beat the all time 3 points made record in a single season,
which is very impressive.
For the NBA, they beat Golden State's record from 2 years ago. So with still like a week left of games. So hell yeah. Congratulations.
That is very, very impressive.
Moving on to breaking news today, as of this recording, Tuesday the 8th, the Denver Nuggets fired head coach and championship winning head coach Michael Malone and general manager Calvin Booth with 3 games left in the season, and the Nuggets sitting fourth currently in the West. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, there was a report, I can't remember where I saw it. I mean, it was on Twitter, so maybe take it with a grain of salt. I didn't follow up, but someone said that they're currently on a 4-game losing streak, and ownership is hopeful that these firings will give the team a jolt. But I find that really, really hard to believe.
Yeah, if that is the sole reason, then that, in my opinion, is a very poor way to run your business.
Yeah, I'm suspecting that something had to happen between management and ownership, that they just weren't seeing eye to eye anymore, and that there was a rift. So, in my opinion, that's the only thing that explains why these firings took place. One of their assistant coaches is now taking over as interim as they head into the playoffs. But yeah, only 2 years removed from the Nuggets winning their championship in 2023, and 4 out of the 6 last championship winning coaches are no longer with their teams.
That's right.
Which is weird to me. Usually when a coach wins you a championship, you keep them around for a little while.
Yeah, usually, but this seems to be a current trend in the NBA where it doesn't matter if you won us a championship a year or two ago or not. If you're not up to our par or our standards, you're gone. Or in this case, who knows what happened? Maybe we'll learn more after the season ends. But
yeah, that's
pretty
just
crazy,
super bizarre. And this comes after last week when we talked about how the Grizzlies fired their coach.
Yep.
After a little bit of a skid, but still pretty much in a playoff position.
Yeah, exactly. So to move on to the current playoff picture and the standings, the entire Eastern Conference is set except for seeding placement. So the seeding is not set right now, but the top 10 teams in the East are going into the playoffs. To start, the Cavaliers, as they have all year long, are still in first place with a 62-16 record. Then Boston right behind them with 4 games behind. I don't think they are going to get that 1 seed. I think there's only 5 games left for them, so it's not. Cleveland would have to lose out, and Boston would have to win out. But so I just don't see it happening. So that means right now the Knicks hold 3rd, the Pacers in 4th, Milwaukee in 5th, and Detroit in 6th. That's pretty much going to be your top 6 seeds in the playoffs right now, because 7 through 10 are all in the play-in, and there's a good enough gap between 6 and 7 that no one's going to jump from the play-in to a playoff spot. So your play-in is going to be Orlando in 7th, Atlanta in 8th, Chicago in 9th, and Miami in 10th. Miami did make it by a good margin against Toronto. Toronto had a bad stretch to end the year.
And they've officially been eliminated.
Yeah, Miami has gone 7-3 in their last 10, so they've turned it around a little bit. So, as I said, the 1 through 10 are set in the East. It's just seeding is not confirmed yet, so we're still waiting for the end of the year to do that.
And I know it doesn't really matter, but Boston did clinch their division technically, but divisions don't really matter.
Yeah, that's why
basketball.
That's why I didn't even mention it. On the West, this is literally the complete opposite. Oklahoma City, as we've already talked about for what feels like months now to me, clinched the conference.
Yeah, so they will have home court advantage throughout, at least until the finals.
They've clinched the conference at 64-14. They are currently 12 and a half games ahead of the Houston Rockets in second place, who have
That's crazy in itself.
Yeah.
Just being that far ahead of the competition.
exactly who the Rockets have also clinched 3 through 10 though. Nobody's clinched a playoff spot, which is wild, just wild. So the Lakers are currently in third. They are 3.5 games behind the Rockets. Denver, as we said, are in fourth currently. They're a game and a half behind the Lakers. The Clippers in fifth are a half game behind Denver, and Golden State are tied right now with the Clippers in sixth spot. Sorry. So that's your current 1 through 6 seeding. In the play-in, though, which this is where it gets crazy, because the Clippers and Golden State, but also Minnesota and Memphis are all tied with the same exact record. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Tied with the same exact record. Then Sacramento in 9th at 39 and 40. They're probably going to finish either 9th or 10th because Dallas is right behind them in 10th, a game behind. Phoenix still has a shot from the outside. They're only 2.5 games behind, but it's getting
Very
down
unlikely.
to the wire.
They've been trending in the wrong direction.
Correct. And Kevin Durant is out injured. So the West is wide open. Aside from first place, the West is wide open right now. I have no idea where it's going to finish.
Yeah, I've never seen this kind of playoff picture before where literally I saw a post where only 1 of 20 seedings right now are set in stone.
Yeah.
And that's the Thunder. With 3 to 5 games left for everybody. That is insane. In the West, just to sum it up overall, 3 through 8 are only separated by 2 games.
Yeah.
And like if the Lakers lost tonight, they would fall from 3rd all the way down to 8th. That is how close it is.
That's right.
So literally right now for the West, every single game matters. I would be playing like every single game is a playoff game if I was a team in the West.
It's pretty wild.
So yeah, that's it for the NBA. Shay, do you think anybody's gonna lose a couple games and maybe fall back or charge up the top, or what do you think?
No, I think, on the East side, I really don't think much is going to change over there except maybe just some seeding spots. I don't think anyone's going to bounce out from the play-in to move up to a playoff spot, really. On the West, though, I don't think the Suns are going to jump into the play-in and make the playoffs. But aside from that, though, I don't know where people are going to finish. Especially that 4-way tie right now for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
That's insane.
I have no idea who's going to be in the play-in and who's not. I honestly have no idea.
Yeah. So just for a few clinching scenarios for tonight, because it is going to change wildly from game to game right now. The Cavaliers can clinch the number 1 seed in the East with a win. The Lakers will clinch a playoff spot, not a seed, with a win. Lakers will clinch the Pacific Division title with the win and losses by the Clippers and Warriors, but divisions don't matter. And the Kings are actually locked in to the play-in tournament with the Suns loss. So for the Suns, if they lose tonight, their season is over.
Yeah.
So there's a must-win game for them. But moving on to the NHL, because playoffs are also right around the corner. There are a few teams that have clinched a playoff spot. Toronto, Florida, and the Lightning have all clinched the playoffs. The Hurricanes and the Metro have clinched playoff spot as well. The Avalanche over in the West and the Knights and the Kings have all clinched playoff spots. Nobody right now has clinched their division or the conference, but we're pretty close. There's only 5 games left in the regular season. For example, like Carolina is 11 points behind Washington for the division. So
Yeah.
pretty much it's already set in stone. It's just not mathematically eliminated right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But before we get into the standings, we have to talk about a certain player. And
History.
I cannot stress enough how just monumental that this record being broken is. If you're not a sports fan of any sport, Wayne Gretzky, literally the greatest, I'd say probably the greatest athlete of all time in his respective sport, literally dominated and rewrote the record book for hockey. When he scored his 894th goal in his last NHL game, 1,487 games, people thought back then that that record would never be broken.
Yeah.
Nobody would even come close. Well, a certain guy named Alexander Ovechkin, you might have heard of him, has played for the Washington Capitals his entire career. He broke that record this past week with 895 goals in exactly the same amount of games.
Unreal. Unreal.
The fact that we're even witnessing this right now is insane.
And what's crazier is Alex himself said Gretzky's record would never be broken. But Gretzky back in the day said it would be broken one day.
Yeah. Gretzky, once the record got close when he was a few goals away, Gretzky and Commissioner Gary Bettman started touring.
Mm-hmm.
They were at every single game. So once he broke the record, they literally stopped the entire game to have a ceremony.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But Gretzky said that NHL great Gordie Howe was there when he broke his record that he set with 802 goals back in the day. And Gretzky said he would be there to shake Ovechkin's hand when he broke his record.
Yeah, and a real show of class because Gretzky was rooting Ovechkin on the entire time. He wanted Ovechkin to break his record.
Yeah, so it just shows me just the classiness of hockey. And I'm not trying to put hockey above any other sport or anything, but it was just such a cool sight to see Great One and Great One exchange that kind of message. And I cannot believe that I was alive to watch this.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular to be able to see and just to hear the different calls from all over the world and here in the US of people calling the game was electric. But just to be alive in this time period, to be able to witness something like this get broken. Wow. Just so lucky. So lucky.
Yeah, and I want to remind everybody that he missed 16 games this year with the broken leg.
Yep, at 39 years old.
And still came back and scored at an over 50 goal pace and broke the record.
Yeah. Unreal.
Just absolutely crazy. Now the question is, for me, because we all know he's going to reach 900, can he reach 1,000 goals?
If he keeps playing, it's his choice.
I think he definitely could. Like, if he decided, I think he could play as long as he wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Father Time has not slowed him down yet, so.
Not yet. So, but eventually, it unfortunately will catch up.
Well, yeah.
But, yeah, just incredible. I want to say, with this record being set, that nobody will come close to breaking Ovechkin's record now. But I'm really not so sure. Like, technology improves every single day for sports, medicine, training, staff. So I honestly would not be surprised in the next 40, 50 years if we see another generational talent come along and start that chase for Ovechkin's record. I mean, even right now, Austin Matthews, he has more goals throughout his career than Ovechkin did in the same amount of games.
Yeah.
So if he stays healthy, which has been a little bit of a problem for him over the last 2 years, we could see Austin Matthews one day shake Ovechkin's hand for breaking his record.
Yeah, I mean Gretzky said it himself back in the day. You know, records are meant to be broken. So I think it's absolutely possible now.
Yeah, just incredible stuff. And I also want to give a shout out to Sidney Crosby. He broke the record for 20 point per game seasons, which was also another one of Gretzky's records. Which is funny because just throughout their entire careers, Ovechkin and Crosby have been tied at the hip.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see them break two of the great ones records in the same year.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but I could go on, but we do have to move on. But I want to give a shout out to my boy on the Tampa Bay Lightning, Nikita Kucherov. He's just had a ridiculous run, and I really wanted to talk about it. Just been over close to 2 points per game over the last couple months, and he has now tied Nathan McKinnon with 115 points in the scoring race.
Pretty wild. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the Lightning and their playoff picture. I think I honestly don't expect them to win the cup, but I think they could go on a deep run, and they're not going to be an easy out.
They've looked better than the last 2 years, for sure.
Yeah. So I think if any time was to go win the cup, I think this year has been our best chance in a few years. But we're going to go ahead and give our standings update. As I said, there's a few other teams that have clinched, but to go division by division, the Maple Leafs currently lead with 98 points, followed by the Lightning, who are only 2 points behind at 96 points, and the Panthers are at 92 points, but they have lost 5 in a row. So it is the wrong time to get cold right now.
Yeah.
They do have a couple key injuries in Barkov and Tkachuk. But the Senators, who hold that first wild card spot in the East, are only 2 points behind the Panthers.
Really close.
That's right. And the Canadians, who we all thought were still rebuilding, they are in the second wild card spot, and they are 6 points ahead of the Rangers.
Jeez.
With 85 points. For the Metro Division, the Capitals pretty much have that on lockdown. They have 107 points. 11 points ahead of second in the Metro, the Carolina Hurricanes with 96 points. And the Devils, even then, are 7 points behind at 89 points.
Yeah.
So both the spots, all the 3 spots in that division are pretty much locked down. There's no way the Rangers are going to catch the Devils. So they have to hope to catch the Canadians, and the Lightning beat them last night in regulation. So their playoff chances have really taken a hit. The Islanders and Blue Jackets are still hanging in there, but at this point, they would need a lot of help, and they would have to win out. But the Islanders have 78 points, 1 point behind the Rangers, and the Blue Jackets have 77 points. And the rest, they're pretty much out of the playoff picture.
Yeah.
So moving on to the West, not the New York Jets because it's not football. The Winnipeg Jets right now are in the President's Trophy leading the league with 110 points. The Dallas Stars, though, are only 5 points behind with 105 points, second in the division, and Colorado is third with 98 points. And the St. Louis Blues, who just had a franchise-setting 12-game win streak that was broken last night by the Jets, have stormed from being pretty well out of the playoff picture to the first wild card at 93 points.
Thanks, Jim Montgomery.
Yep. And the Minnesota Wild, who are in a little bit of trouble, but they have had a lot of injuries this year. They're holding on to that second wild card spot with 91 points. And in the Pacific, to round out the West, the Vegas Golden Knights lead the division with 102 points. The Kings are 5 points behind with 97 points. And the Oilers are 4 points behind the Kings with 93 points. And still hanging on by a thread right now are the Calgary Flames. But as we said in the East, they would need a lot of help. They are 6 points out of the playoffs, and then the Canucks are 10 points out, so they're pretty much eliminated.
Yeah, there's only, what you said, 5 games left for some teams? for most
Yeah,
teams.
for most teams, there's 4 or 5 games left.
Yeah.
So, like, they would need to win every game, and then St. Louis would need to lose every game.
Yeah.
For the Minnesota Wild. So, yeah, that's the NHL standings and playoff picture update. We'll look at some clinching scenarios for hockey as well. The only clinching scenarios for tonight are in the Eastern Conference as of this recording. The New Jersey Devils will clinch their playoff spot if they get at least 1 point against the Boston Bruins. And the
Which
Ottawa
they will.
Senators will clinch a playoff spot if they defeat the Columbus Blue Jackets in any fashion, or if they get 1 point and any result in the Detroit Red Wings Montreal Canadiens game other than a Red Wings regulation win.
Okay.
Or if the Red Wings lose in any fashion. And the Washington Capitals will actually clinch the division if the Carolina Hurricanes lose to the Buffalo Sabres in regulation.
Which is pretty possible. Sorry, Jake.
Yeah. So I feel bad too. It's funny you mentioned Jake and the Sabres because I feel bad because this team, man, like they're out of the playoff picture and then they've been on a run lately and just getting closer and closer, but it's not going to happen. And they're just hurting their chances of getting another top draft pick.
Yep.
And that's, to me, that's the most frustrating part about that team is that they just fall out like in October, November, then just kind of suck from there. But then the last like month or two of the season, they just give you that little bit of hope by going on a run. And I just don't know how you fix that team. I've kind of given up.
Yeah. At this point, until it happens, I don't know if it will ever happen.
Yeah, it's really wild to me that how they've not made the playoffs in the last 13, 14 years. About to be 14 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, sorry, Jake. But yeah, that's the playoff pictures for all your sports and the NCAA basketball championship all wrapped up. Real soon, we're only gonna have baseball going on, but we still got the playoffs.
Yeah, so
It's such a great time to be a sports fan right now, with baseball going on and all the playoff hockey and basketball that we get to see. I'm so excited. Playing tournament actually starts next week.
Mhm.
And I think the official date for the playoffs for basketball is April 12th or April 19th.
19th.
April 19th. And then the hockey playoffs start April 20th.
Easter Sunday.
That's right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take our break here, but don't go anywhere. We got plenty of other content for you guys today to talk about. So we will see you all very soon.
Welcome back to the second half of this Just Saying, episode 23. And we are starting off with the NFL.
Football.
We are starting off with, kind of seems like almost every week or every other week now, with Jairus's team, the Cincinnati Bengals. And why? Well, Bengals executive vice president Katie Blackburn made some very interesting remarks regarding the Bengals' future in Cincinnati. What? And I quote, "We could, I guess, go wherever we wanted after this year if we didn't pick the option up. Now," end quote. The Bengals, their lease at Paycor Stadium does expire next year, June 30th of 2026. However, there are 5 options that the team could pick up that would extend the lease, to June 30th of 2028. The team, though, has until June 30th of this year, so a couple months, to decide if they're going to pick up the option. Now, Jairus, is there really a scenario that the Bengals do not pick up this option and leave Cincinnati, especially after those comments from the executive vice president.
You know, that saying where if you don't have something nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
Yeah.
Or like maybe you should just not say that.
Mhm.
This is one of these scenarios, I think.
Yeah.
Just publicly, wow. At the owners' meetings.
Yeah. It's honestly, there's not really much words because it's a pretty ridiculous statement to say publicly. And as like a fan, I would be questioning everything now. Like what is this front office doing? Because it's just been a shit show the last 2 seasons.
I mean, under Mike Brown, it's been pretty much a shit show for the entire time
Yeah.
that he's owned the team.
You're not wrong.
I don't think it happens. I don't think the NFL has any intention of moving out of Cincinnati. It's a big market, and they want to be there. However, because it's Mike Brown, I wouldn't be surprised if he pushed to take the Bengals out of Cincinnati.
I would
But I highly doubt it happens.
I doubt it too, but it would send shockwaves through the sports world. Holy shit. Can you just a little what if, hypothetical scenario. The Bengals move, the year they move, they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, I think she just something popped in her head and she just said it out loud, but
Yeah,
I don't think this statement really has any credit, like credentials backing it up, but it's just such an outlandish thing to say, especially publicly at the owners' meetings for all the fans to hear that is just so weird.
yeah. She definitely needs to speak with some of the marketing representatives to learn how to speak to the public because that is definitely not something you want your fans to hear. But all we can do, as we've kind of been saying all off season with the Bengals, is wait and see come June 30th if they pick up those 5 options, to extend it another 2 years. I don't see the team moving either, but with the Bengals, you just never know because the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson, still nothing.
Yeah, after the Pat McAfee show, and this is gonna be in the news until it's done. Like he gets traded or signs. At this point, pick one or the other.
Yeah.
But with the upcoming draft, I don't know if I talked about it the last podcast episode. In my opinion, the best way to go about it is if you do not have an extension set in place before the draft, you need to trade him so you know what your biggest need is on the team.
Yeah.
If they decide to keep him through the draft, I don't think that would be the smartest move because, in the first round, I think if they didn't, re-sign Hendrickson, trade him after the draft, and they didn't pick an edge rusher in the first round, I think that would be a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I think the priority should be to keep Hendrickson and extend him. But if it's just not going to happen, they can't be like they were with Jamar Chase and just sit on it and wait and wait and wait. Like something has to happen, and soon.
Yeah, the worst case scenario would be to keep Hendrickson throughout the final year of his 4-year deal he signed back in 2021 and then lose him for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Which is definitely on the table. But speaking of the draft, our mock draft video is going to be coming out very soon.
Oh, yeah. I think it personally, just don't want to brag too much, but I personally think it's one of our best YouTube videos that we've done to date.
Agreed.
And we cannot wait for you guys to listen and see what we have cooking up in the YouTube kitchen right now.
That's right.
So we're not going to spoil too much, but just kind of have a little summary. We did do the top 10 of the draft,
Hmm.
each of us. So we each had different picks
Correct.
for our top 10. And then we also did the Bengals and the Eagles because those are our teams. Um, yeah. What do you think of the draft this year, Shay? Do you think it's a good draft or a weak draft? And, where do you think, who do you think your Eagles pick? Maybe what position?
Yeah, I mean, I think every year is a good draft. It's just a mixture of, or more so, what position is the strongest. Uh, I think I said last week, the quarterback class this year is not as good as it was last year. However, that doesn't mean there aren't stars in quarterback. Cam Ward is projected to go number one overall. Spoiler. Um, and I think that's going to happen. Of course, we have Shooter Sanders in there and Jackson Dart, Jalen Milrow. Just still some very good names, but I think it's going to be a good mixture this year of quarterbacks, receivers, defensive ends, linemen, offense and defense. So I think it's going to be a pretty good mixture instead of like last year quarterback heavy draft for sure. The Birds though, they're the hardest to pick because they are the last pick in the first round. So obviously, way too much is going to happen between 1 and 32. But I think they're going to focus on the defense, specifically the defensive line.
Do you think, in particular, with Ashton Genty having like one of the best college seasons we've ever had, do you think that motivates a team to take him with a top draft pick, or because he's a running back and generally running backs don't get drafted high, do you think he falls a little bit in the draft?
No, I think he will be taken in the top 10. I really do.
Yeah, I can't see him fall out of the top 10 myself. I think we can all agree that Cam Ward, especially with the Titans needing a quarterback, I highly doubt he doesn't go first overall.
Yeah.
Um, I think for the Titans, because of their situation, I think he will be expected to start right away. But outside of him, I think when you're drafting a quarterback in this class beyond Cam Ward, I think you're going to have a little bit of a project on your hands.
Yeah, which is usually the norm. Last year was not a normal
Right.
draft with so many quarterbacks being kind of ready to go from the get go.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I think the strongest position is edge rusher. There are a lot of edge rushers that are projected to potentially go in the first round. And I
Yep.
think quite a few teams do need pass rush help,
Yeah, I agree.
including the Bengals. But with the
Yes.
Bengals, they need so many positions, especially on defense, that I mean, they could just take the best player available, whoever that might be, especially picking 17, because if you're picking in the middle, generally you're not going to get the best player at a position.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a defensive focus draft for the Bengals, for sure. They still could use some O line help, but the defense was just the obvious Achilles heel for them last year.
Yeah, for me, the Bengals, I mean, like you said, we could obviously use O line help, but Burrow showed that even with a mediocre to bad offensive line, that he can ball out.
Yeah, exactly. That's
So
right.
if we did draft one of the top O lines for with our first pick, our 17th overall pick, I would be kind of upset
Yeah, I would be too.
because the reason we lost games last year was because of our defense.
Exactly.
But if you had to pick any position, like what do you think the Eagles go for?
Already said defensive end.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I probably just zoned out.
oh, that's okay. Yeah,
Um,
defensive end.
but yeah, I mean, even though a lot of people say like that this is not as good of a draft and it may be weak on some talent, you always find those steals in the later rounds.
Mhm.
And generally when you draft in the top 10, you're still getting a really good player.
Exactly.
There's always top end talent in the draft. There's always talent scattered throughout the draft. And as long as you have good scouting and you draft smartly, you will get some good players.
Or you have like 15 picks in the next 2 drafts in the first 2 rounds of each draft, have plenty of
just fire at will. But yeah, look out for our 2025 NFL draft video coming out very soon. I think we said that we were going to do 2.0, but I don't think we're going to have time. So this will be like our only draft video, but we have a lot of good discussion and we have a lot of shocking picks and differing opinions. Correct. So we really hope you enjoy, and we will let you know when that comes out. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the MLB, Major League Baseball. It has been quite the start to the season, if I must say. And I'll just say it again. I am so glad baseball is back and really excited to watch this upcoming season and how it all shakes down.
Yeah, we're going to dive into the standings. But before that, the Blue Jays finally did it.
It's about time.
They finally signed Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to a 14-year, $500 million contract extension, the third highest in the MLB. So they did it. They got their young stud. I think there is no deferred money, so this is all right there. I think there might be 2 options in the contract, if I remember correctly. But potentially Vlad could be a Blue Jay until he's 40 with this contract. And obviously get paid very handsomely.
Yeah, it's about time after 2 years of arbitration and people speculating like, is he going to get traded? Is he going to leave? Yeah. He was going to be a UFA after this year, so this was the final chance for him to get signed, and they got it done. So do the Blue Jays finally have a good chance to build their core around Vladimir?
Yeah, he is, of course, their superstar. And he's only 26, I think, so he's still, as far as baseball is concerned, not even in his prime yet. So absolutely, they're going to build around him. Bo Bichette, I think, is up next year. They're also young star, and there's pretty good consensus. If Vlad was going to not re-sign, Bo was going to walk too, and then the Blue Jays would be stuck rebuilding. So I think now that Vlad is coming back, they are going to get Bo Bichette back, and they'll be just fine. It's going to be a lot easier now to build around them, and instead of doing a full complete rebuild. But missing out on Ohtani and Juan Soto and Alec Bregman this year, they needed to do this. They had no other option.
Yeah. So with this contract, what do you think this means for the future for other MLB stars? Because we have seen big contracts get handed out over the last year or two. Is like 500 million for a long term for years, like pretty much the going rate now for superstar players. And with the CBA coming up, does this kind of add a little more to the notion that maybe baseball might consider finally putting in a salary cap?
Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about it a lot. I think this is just more fuel to the fire to have some sort of salary cap going on with baseball. This is absolutely going to be the going rate for any superstar out there that is going to sign a massive deal. It's only going to get more and more expensive. Thank you, Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto. It's no brainer to me. Contracts are only going to keep going up until baseball puts in a salary cap. And if they don't after this CBA talk, I think next year or in 2 years,
can we see the first $1 billion
Yeah,
contract.
I think so because
Like, someone signs what, $1 billion for 20 years?
yeah, I
Like,
don't know.
just want to lock them up right
Yeah,
away.
Pretty much.
Yeah, insane stuff. But with Shohei Ohtani signing that 10-year, $700 million contract, I think at that point you have to justify being better than Shohei Ohtani to get a contract like that.
Which isn't possible right now. So
Yeah. And man, just off topic real quick. Did you see that Phillies and Dodgers game where the catcher got him out?
Yep.
And you said what? That was like the 30th something consecutive try that they finally got him out
yeah, for Ohtani,
for catchers. That's crazy.
yeah.
Just shows you how good he is. And
Oh yeah. And also, before that game, he did pitch a bullpen session, about 26 pitches. So he's getting close to coming back on the pitching mound.
yeah, and what's crazy,
And they don't need to.
what's crazy to me, and we don't want to revert back to a Dodgers podcast here,
Yeah.
but what's crazy to me is that even when Ohtani is good to go full-time pitching, like, they have so many aces in their rotation that Ohtani, like, is not like the guy.
Yeah, he doesn't
He
need
doesn't
to
have to
pitch.
be the guy.
He doesn't need to pitch at all, and the Dodgers would
Which
be
is
just fine.
crazy.
Like, they should honestly, like, thinking about it now, as much as people would probably love to see him be the 2A player that he is, they should probably wait and to see if injuries happen and they maybe lose 2 starters, then throw Ohtani in there to start pitching. But they don't have to right now.
Yeah, they have so many weapons at their disposal. But even if Shohei Ohtani doesn't pitch, regularly, his bat alone justifies his value.
Yeah, exactly.
It blows my mind every single time to be thinking about like that.
He's the best.
Going back though, just real quick to the salary cap discussion. If they don't want to implement a cap, I think that's fine. I think right now, do they already have a luxury tax or not?
They do have some sort of like luxury tax, but it's not. It's
Right.
kind of similar to the NBA. Like it's really nothing.
Yeah. What I was getting at is I hear a lot of people talk about how teams don't want to spend money. So maybe they don't have to implement a salary cap, but maybe it would be a better idea to first like implement a cap floor so that owners still have to spend up to a certain amount.
Yeah, maybe.
So we don't have a situation like the A's. I mean, I know they're moving, but they only spend like 40 million or something on like all their players, which is low, which is super low.
I think that's the lowest in the league next to
the Rays.
That's right.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Could that like discourage owners from being so cheap, or would that not really make all the difference?
I mean, I don't see a floor happening, especially if the CBA is going to happen right in the middle of not the Oakland A's, the A's. That's it. The Athletics, especially in the middle of the Athletics moving and the Rays not knowing what's going on with them. The owners aren't going to want to spend all this money. So I don't think it's a cap floor is really in the cards. Could that change? Absolutely. Am I wrong? Probably. But I think either a cap needs to happen or the luxury tax needs to be more more severe of a penalty to teams that overspend.
I think you're right too. Like that's a good point. We don't have all 30 franchises like stable right now. So that could definitely have a huge effect on any sort of cap structure questions that come up in the CBA.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Just have to wait and see. But don't you have a little bit of standings update for us? I want to see which teams are off to a hot start and who are not off to a hot start.
Yeah, so starting the American League in our division, the East, everyone's kind of the same right now. Toronto, now this is going on right in the middle of games. Like, for example, the Blue Jays and Red Sox are playing right now as we're speaking.
Yeah, and there are so many games in baseball that right now, especially this early, like positions change so frequently.
Yeah, exactly. So just a quick little update. Toronto technically leads the division at 6-5. The Yankees are also 6-5, and the Red Sox are also 6-5, with the Orioles and 5-6 and fourth, and the Rays rounding out the East after their hot start. They're now 4-5 because they have lost 4 in a row.
That series against the Rangers was pretty brutal.
Yeah. The American League Central, Detroit does lead it 7-4 right now, having a pretty good start to the year. After that, though, everyone is at or below 500 to start the year. Kansas City's 5-5, Cleveland is 4-6 in third, Minnesota's 3-7, and Chicago White Sox in the basement again to start the year at 2-8. To start in the American League West, the Rangers off to a good start at 8-3. The Angels also off to a good start right now at 6-3. Houston though 4-6. Then Seattle and the Athletics both 4-7, rounding out the American League West. The National League, this is where the hotter teams are at the moment. The Phillies off to a really good start at 7-2, leading the NL East. The Mets right behind though at 7-3. Then Miami's 5-5. Washington 4-6. And honestly, the biggest surprise for me, the Braves 1-8 to start the year.
Yeah, they started the year 0-7, and no team that started 0-7 has made the playoffs in the entire history of baseball.
Yeah, it's really shocking.
A complete disaster.
I did not foresee this at all. In the National League Central, a little more close together as a division. The Cubs do lead it right now, 8-5. Then everyone else below them is at 500 or below. So Milwaukee's 5-5, St. Louis is 4-6, Pittsburgh is 4-7, and Cincinnati also 4-7. The West, the National League West is the best division in baseball right now.
Oh yeah.
To start the year, San Diego Padres 9-2.
Best start the year. Best start in one of their franchise's histories, and both teams won the pennant. That started 9-2.
Interesting. The Giants are 8-2 to start the year. The Dodgers, after starting 8-0, are now 9-3. So they've skidded a little bit. Slowed down a little bit. But I mean, it's the Dodgers, so it's not really that big of a deal. The Diamondbacks are 5-6, and the Colorado Rockies in the basement once again to start the year at 2-7. But maybe for the only time this year, we can actually say the Chicago White Sox are not the worst team in baseball right now.
Might be the only time that we can say it this year. I'm very sorry, White Sox fans.
Yeah.
But in a 162 game schedule, that means that they would finish worse than they did last year with only 16 wins.
If they kept up this pace.
They're on pace right now for 16 wins. So, yeah, always the inferior little brother of the Cubs. Sorry, White Sox fans.
Yeah.
But yeah, now, like we said, take it with a grain of salt because there's so many games that these standings just change so much. So we won't be obviously doing standings updates every week, maybe, or we will every 2 weeks because at that point there's been a lot of games played.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think of the start to the year for baseball, Shay?
Successful start.
Is Rafael Devers doing any better?
Yes.
I mean, it couldn't get worse.
No, after 0-19, in his last, I think the stat was last 3 games or 4 games, he's gone 5 for 9 with a home run and like 2 doubles. So he has absolutely turned it around. But the hottest player on the Red Sox right now is Wilyer Abreu. And holy cow, he is off. He leads the entire league in average, hits, extra base hits, and OPS and slugging percentage right now to start the year. That's to start the year, but holy cow, what a hot start. Can't get any hotter than that. And he missed all of spring training because he got sick with, I think it was the flu, and he lost 35 pounds.
Holy crap.
And he's off to this hot start.
That's crazy. Wow. Wow, good start for him, especially after losing 35 pounds with
Yeah.
the flu. That's kind of insane. That
Yeah.
makes it even more impressive. Just real quick too, I don't want to highlight the Red Sox too much, but you said they have a new documentary coming out.
Hell
Good
yeah.
shit.
The just got released today as of this recording, Tuesday, April 8th. I have not watched it, so I am not a true Red Sox fan. So there we go. No. Yes, came out today. The Netflix crew followed the Red Sox all year last year during their 81 and 81 perfectly mediocre season. So I'm very excited, not as just a Red Sox fan, but baseball, because you get to see a baseball team do what they do behind the scenes. So that's going to be really, really cool to see. And just a quick shout out. We've talked about this, I think, before.
Hello everyone, Future Jairus here. Just want to butt in real quick to tell you guys that we're going to be talking about some sensitive topics regarding mental health. So if you are sensitive to that kind of stuff and don't want to listen, that's okay. Just please skip to 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 15 seconds.
Mental health is super important. It's just as important as your physical health. And shout out Jaron Duran, who in the documentary went into how he had a really bad 2 years in 2022 and 2023. And he actually attempted to end his own life. He was in a really bad place. And he got help afterwards and completely turned it around and had the greatest season of his career so far last year for 2024. So I think it's very brave and very courageous. Yes, he's an athlete, makes millions of dollars to play a sport that he loves, can kind of do whatever he wants, but even at that, you still have demons that can just control your life and make you think very terrible thoughts and think you're better off not being here. So I think what he's doing is very brave and courageous. And I'm glad, Jaron, if you ever listen to this, I am very glad you are still here and still with us. Forget the baseball part, just as a person, I'm very glad you're still here. And thank you for opening up and being vulnerable, because it's only going to help more people.
Yeah, that was such a huge impact. And again, my thanks to him too for being here, and everybody else that has had that thought even cross their mind that they think the world would be better off without them. We here at Just Saying want you to know that you matter and you have a place in this world.
You do.
And the world would not be better off without you. So
exactly.
Thank you for just being here. Thank you for fighting every day. If you are in a dark place, I have been there myself. So thank you for continuing to fight and don't give up.
That's right.
It does get better.
It does. And it's okay to talk to someone. It's okay to get help. I'm not afraid to admit it. I have therapy every single week. So please, it's okay. And we love you.
That's right. So with that heartfelt message, and we'll put a warning in the podcast if anyone's sensitive to this kind of stuff. But we're going to go ahead and move on to NASCAR.
Meow.
You turn in left. Turn left.
Turn left
Making
again.
another left. Not going backwards like you do in the video games. We've all done it, okay?
Yes.
Don't act like you haven't. All right. But that would be very dangerous in real life, so don't do that.
Do not do that.
So
another disclaimer: do not drive backwards.
Yeah. So with NASCAR, we were at Darlington this week. One of personally my favorite tracks.
Throwback weekend.
That's right. Oh man, all the paint schemes. William Byron's Axelda to commemorate Jeff Gordon's last race. The Terry Labonte not Mark Martin. That was
Correct.
before. I made that mistake last week. The Kellogg's throwback,
Which won Best
one
in
of
Show.
my personal
That
favorites.
won Best in Show.
Fantastic. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. So William Byron, the man himself, started in the pole position and led the most laps for the Goodyear 400 at Darlington, but Denny Hamlin finishes ahead of him in first place and goes back to back and wins his 5th race in his career at Darlington in overtime.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of Kyle Larson, he wrecked on the 7th lap of the race.
Not a good day for Larson.
No. So unfortunately, the Tony the Tiger car was not too good after that, unfortunately.
It's not great.
Yeah. Yes. But Denny, I mean, hey, back to back. So he is in it right now. This second time this year we've had back to back winners. Will he do a three-peat?
Yeah. It's crazy to me, like how much just a few drivers have dominated. Obviously, Hendrick is off to a great start, but Christopher Bell and Joe Gibbs are also kind of dominating the scene, and also with Denny Hamlin as well being a part of Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, Joe Gibbs has won 5 of the first 7 races.
So yeah, pretty dominant for a couple race teams, and also Hamlin being a co-owner of 23XI Racing as well. So yeah, congrats to Denny Hamlin. Personally, my favorite driver. I know I'm the minority in that claim, but I thought it was so cool in his I think it was Sports Clips throwback.
Sports Clips.
I saw a photo and he was just looking out in the crowd with his arms stretched, and I don't know. He knows he's the villain and he embraces it.
He does.
And
he does.
I love it.
He does. Was this the year though? That's the question every single week.
It's always going to be the question, no matter what. If he wins 10, 20 races, like, can he get it done in the playoffs?
Yeah, exactly.
But he will have a chance.
He will, absolutely. So the next race this upcoming weekend is the Food City 500 at Bristol.
The
Motor
short
Speedway.
track.
The last great Coliseum. Sunday at 3 p.m. And then the week after, they're taking a break because it's Easter. Spend time with their family. So a quick little standings update. Again, still very early in the season, but it's been a few races. So William Byron does lead right now in first place with 1 win, but he's been the most consistent driver so far this year. So he leads right now. Denny Hamlin in second, Christopher Bell in third, Chase Elliott in fourth, Tyler Reddick in fifth, Kyle Larson sixth, Ryan Blaney seventh, who also almost won that race because he had the best car actually.
I think it's only a
through the
matter.
field.
I think it's only a matter of time before Blaney gets a win because he's been pretty consistent to start the year.
Yeah. Bubba Wallace actually in eighth, Joey Logano in ninth, Alex Bowman in 10th. So all 400 drivers in the top 10 of the standings currently. Chris Buescher in 11th, Ross Chastain 12th, Pierce in 13th, Chase Briscoe in 14th, Kyle Busch in 15th, and AJ Allmendinger currently in 16th. And that was your top 16 for the playoffs.
That's right. As we all know, for the playoffs, top 16 make it, and then it's reset. And if you get a win, you're into the next round. And if not, you have to be above that cutoff line.
That's right.
So, yeah, we'll see how it all shakes down the next few races, and we'll give you another update then. But that's going to do it for sports. Moment of silence for the end of sports, this podcast. But we got another last very exciting topic to talk about, and that is Marvel.
Yeah, Daredevil. Oh, God. Daredevil, not Daredevil.
Daredevil? I didn't even hear that.
Daredevil. Daredevil episode 7 happened. As of this recording, episode 8 will be releasing. We know we're a week behind, but that's okay. Wow. The shortest episode of this season so far, which does suck, but arguably one of the best. Oh my God.
Yeah, a lot to unpack. And I just want to say, Shay, you called it.
I did, didn't I?
You did. You did. Shay is a fucking genius.
Well, let's not go that.
Okay. Just take the compliment, all right? But yeah, this episode opens up after the end of the last episode when Matt Murdock saves the White Tiger's daughter. Forget her name again.
I forget her
we
name.
always say we're gonna write down names and we never do. That's kind of a running joke now at this point.
Yep.
But he obviously fought Muse. Muse escaped, and I love how this episode starts because it starts with him in the shower, cleansing off the blood, and that to me that was very symbolic because he let his side of him come out that he was trying to suppress for so long. And I feel like the shower just symbolizes more than, a cleansing of his skin. He's trying to wash out the guilt and the dirtiness that he feels inside of himself.
Good thing he's taking a shower.
And you just knew too with his girlfriend again.
Heather.
Yes, Heather.
Yeah.
His Heather, the therapist. That once Daredevil came out, that I was like, oh crap, like she's gonna be in trouble.
Yeah. She did join him in the shower, got a little steamy there,
from the hot water.
Yeah.
The hot water. Yeah.
Exactly. This is a PG program here. But after.
Now, while this is going on too, we still see Fisk as the mayor, and they're doing an investigation themselves with his newly assembled task force,
anti-vigilante task force.
And he finds out that Daredevil may be back, and he is not very happy about it.
He's not happy, and his assistant, whose name we don't remember, even questions him like, this is a good problem because Daredevil's going to go after Muse and get Muse, and Muse is our problem right now. And
he wants to be the one to solve it.
Kingpin was not happy and explained to him that Matt Murdock, well, he didn't say Matt Murdock, Daredevil tore down his 10 years it took to build of his business. Just threw it all away. Just took it all away. And he's pissed that Murdock broke their agreement where Murdock wasn't going to be Daredevil as long as Kingpin wasn't going to go back to his criminal ways and vice versa. And Murdock did break the agreement, even though Kingpin also probably broke the agreement in the last episode. So,
yeah, it's weird to me how that all shook down because he's mayor. I feel like Fisk kind of finds himself to be, after finding out this news, to be the bigger person. But while Daredevil first came out, he was beating the shit out of his, Vanessa's lover. And even then was keeping him captive throughout this entire series. So
yeah,
who's really the worst person? So yeah, it's kind of ironic in a way. But was after Heather has a therapy appointment. Yeah, with a certain client. His name I don't remember. Starts with a B.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But I was right.
He was right. In a couple episodes ago or a few episodes ago, there was a young man whose name
the first episode of the year. This first season.
Heather was signing her new book that she released, and he comes up and gets a signature and says, like, thank you. This book changed my life. And he's the same client that joins her for his therapy session. And who's this mysterious client, Shay?
Oh, just some serial killer named Muse. They have their therapy appointment, and things start off pretty normal for her, I guess. But then he finally lets him true self out. He lets her see
It's Bastion, by the way.
Bastion. Ah, yeah, it is. Bastion lets her see himself for who he truly is. And he even claims that she's the key to it all.
Yeah, the actor was really good in that scene. Definitely was very uncomfortable and acted like a complete psychopath. So
Yeah.
whoever the actor was, great performance, because I was very uncomfortable the entire time.
Yeah, I agree. So after some dialogue, he ends up knocking her out because she's going to be part of her muse. No, not a
I
good.
don't get it.
Like, you're my muse. Like, it's an art term.
Oh,
All right, never mind. Anyway, moving on. So he knocks Heather out. After she comes to, she's tied down. Gonna be his next piece of art. He's in the full muse outfit. He's getting ready to cut her open.
who comes swinging through the window?
Spider. Oh no.
No, wait, different movie. That'll be in a future. That'll be in a future movie.
Yeah, future movie.
No spoilers.
Daredevil comes in. Oof. They have a good fight.
Now,
They
the
really
reason, too, just to go back a little bit, the reason Daredevil knew who Muse was targeting was because he did his own investigation.
Yep.
Separate from the police, and found actual drawings of Heather in Muse's lair.
That's right. And he used his, because, he's blind, felt her face on the paintings, and here knows what her face feels like, obviously, after the steamy shower. That caused cause from the hot water and everything.
Yep.
He was able to find her and realize she was his captive and next victim, and she was definitely in trouble. So he goes in swinging and saves the day. Or does he actually? Because what happens?
So, yeah, they have a good fight, and Heather is actually the one who shoots him down.
Muse down and kills him.
Yep.
So, yeah, Heather kills Muse, which honestly was a surprise to me because I did not expect him to be killed off. I thought he was going to be a problem through the rest of the season and maybe next season, which they are currently filming. Yes, a new season is coming. Woohoo. Killed off. And Daredevil goes to check on Heather. Obviously, that's his girlfriend. Make sure she's
she
okay.
was bleeding out. Muse had started, in the process of sucking all her blood out.
Yeah.
Like a modern day vampire. So yeah, she was cut in the arm and she was bleeding out, losing blood, so she fainted. And Daredevil goes on to check on her, says her name, which I think by the end of the episode, I predict that Heather already knows at that point that Matt Murdock is Daredevil.
Right. Before we get there, though, the task force comes in, and obviously they did not kill Muse, but the Kingpin also looks at the crime scene and basically tells the leader, whose name I forget.
We really need to find these names down.
No, you guys are the ones that took down Muse, right? And he's like, yes, sir. And so they have a whole press conference saying that they were the ones that took Muse down to bolster the Kingpin's reign and make him credible and make his task force, more importantly, credible in the things that they do illegally. So they took the credit for killing Muse, and then it goes back to the hospital where Daredevil, Matt Murdock, is waiting for Heather to wake up.
Yeah, so talks to her, just make sure she's okay. And Heather says, well, he said my name.
Yeah.
And, I like I said, I think at that point I'm pretty sure she's smart enough to kind of piece it together.
Yeah. I don't think in that moment she knows, but I think she will figure it out. And there's only 2 episodes left, so it's definitely coming, but man, what an episode for me personally. Holy cow. Probably the best episode of the season so far.
Yeah, but we have one more thing to talk about in this episode because Luca.
Yeah.
Luca. He's been causing a lot of trouble for the Kingpin.
This does lead to a good question here as we're at the end of the episode. Vanessa does text Luca an address, and the address ends up being where the Kingpin is having a dinner by himself. Or is he by himself? Well, Luca goes in to try and kill him. Instead, the Kingpin's assistant, who again we do not remember his name, kills Luca instead. How can we remember Luca's name, but not all these other people's names?
It's just like a distinctive name.
Yeah, I guess so.
Luca.
Yeah, I guess so.
Also, I remember Luca because of Luka Doncic. So I just piece everything together with sports.
Very true. So Luca does end up dying, and Kingpin knew about it all along. So the question is, did Vanessa actually send the address so Luca could kill the Kingpin? Did she agree to Luca, like trying to help Luca out and become the new head of everything? Or did Vanessa want Luca to get killed?
I think it was a setup because I don't see Vanessa betraying Fisk in that way. So I have a very hard time believing that she would actually betray him and have Luca try to kill him. I think Luca was set up.
Yeah,
because he was just starting to cause problems.
Right. I think it was a setup too, and I'm going to be interested to find out in the coming episodes if somehow Fisk finds out about her texting him, and maybe that causes a problem or something. Also, how does this affect their therapy sessions? Because they knew, obviously, Heather had Bastion, right?
Mm-hmm.
As her client, Muse as her client. So how's that? So everything's going to get really convoluted and just a whole big mess and cause problems for Matt Murdock, basically.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting too to see, like, because I don't think Daredevil has affected them directly because it was all Muse that knew who Heather was, not because of Daredevil.
Yeah, exactly.
Or anything like that. But I'll be very interested to see, like, if because of Daredevil does the ones around him start to get put into trouble because of his alter identity, which for me has been a concern throughout the entire show.
Yeah, exactly. So that is episode 7. Episode 8 again is coming out as of this recording, and then one episode left. Damn.
Let's hope it's not like Secret Invasion, please.
I don't
Just
think
anything,
so.
anything but the ending of Secret Invasion, which I think we can all agree was one of the worst endings to any MCU project I've ever seen.
I thought it was a great show until the end, which just completely ruined everything. Awful. But yeah, that is it for this episode.
Okay, now get out of here.
All right, see you.
No, I'm just kidding. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. We hope you all enjoyed. We had a lot to talk about, and we'll still have plenty of things to discuss in the coming weeks, especially with playoffs coming up and Daredevil continuing to air. So, yeah, make sure to leave a like if you loved the episode. We know we did, and we hope you do too. Make sure to subscribe to any colored button.
Yeah.
So make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you don't want to miss out on future content, leave a comment down below on anything we talked about. We'd love to discuss with you guys down there.
Play some Rivals with us. We need it.
My username is @what's245. But yeah, I love Marvel Rivals. And make sure to follow our socials that will be linked in the description below. We have our Facebook. But if you don't listen to the podcast on YouTube and you listen to it on Spotify or any others, we still love you over there.
Yeah, thank you.
But please come to YouTube. It's just going to be our main home from now on. And also we have our Instagram and we have our TikTok, even though we don't really post on there, but we're working on it. and if it doesn't get banned again.
Yeah,
But yeah,
different conversation.
yeah, but that's going to do it. Again, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.